Hey there, it's SharRon. I hope everybody had a great new year. I just had a chance to do an interview about women, about sisterhood and sister circles. And I was asked a question as to why women sometimes have trouble connecting with each other and what stands in the way. And I believe that there are 6 things that, well, there are 15, but I want to share 6 reasons why I think that women have trouble connecting with each other in any substantive way. And the first reason why I think is such a challenge is one that I believe that we forget that one size does not fit all. And what do I mean by that? I mean that many times we hear comments when I'm with my clients that she didn't know how to be a friend. She didn't know how to show up. Well, maybe not. But the challenge is some of us grew up in haunted homes. Some of us grew up in broken homes. Some of us grew up in happy homes. But we cannot think that our way of being a friend is the only way. There's no universal, unanimous way to be a friend. Our friendships are based on who we are, what's going on in our lives. It's based on our past, our personality. It's based on our needs. So we have to be careful to not say to another woman, you don't know how to be a friend, when maybe we don't know how to be a friend. So what we need to do if that ever happens is to have what I call courageous conversations and tell a person what you need. I think many times we assume that a person knows how to show up for us, but we don't know how to show up for each other. And if we are interested in being friends with other people, we have to let them know how to show up. We have to let them know how to win at loving us. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Kenny. So I think it's really important that we know that. The second thing I think it's important that we have to remember when we are trying to develop friendships with people is to understand that connection always requires contribution. I say that all the time. Connection requires contribution. So often, we have all been in a situation where people show up to the relationship table empty-headed, empty-hearted, empty-handed. They show up to the relationship table, but nothing but an appetite. But then they expect you to show up. Here's the truth. When a person shows up and wants to connect with you, they have to bring something of value. They have to bring some energy, some expertise, some enthusiasm, something. Now, they don't have to bring the same thing, but they have to bring something, but more than their appetite. So we got to be careful that when people come into our lives, we have to understand and require that connection also requires contribution. Don't show up to the table empty and then you always have your head open or your heart open or your hand open. Nobody wants to be in a parasitic type of relationship. Remember, if you're not going to do your part, I say it all the time, you're not a partner, you're a parasite. And none of us should be loyal to leeches. So here's the question. Either you can show value or vacate. And how we show value is based on the needs of the relationship, because no 2 relationships are alike. So that's the second thing. It's important to make sure we understand that connection also means contribution. The third thing I think we have trouble to be in relationships with people is that we make our relationships prisons and not playgrounds. What do I mean by that? Many times we have friends and we get mad when our friends do stuff without telling us. We get into relationships in my clients. Well, she didn't tell me she was going to the movie, and she didn't tell me where she was going to vacation. She didn't tell me this. She didn't tell me that. Listen, people are grown. People are not obligated, I don't care if it's your best friend, to tell you their daily agenda. And any times we get in a situation that we feel that people owe us the understanding of how they're doing their life, we're wrong. Our relationships are playgrounds, not prisons. And anytime we think we can enslave a person by manipulation or enslave a person to do what we need to do, just know that they're not going to be your friend. You have a choice. A person can be your sister, but they're not going to be a slave. And if you want a person to do everything you want them to do, go get a pet. Don't get a person, because people are grown. People want to be in relationships where there's liberation, where there's freedom. Nobody wants to be in bondage. So if you have a relationship where you feel like you got to know everything about the person, just know a relationship is a playground, not a prison. And if you make it a prison, believe me, people are not going to stay around. It's one thing that if people do something from a place of inspiration and information, it's another thing when a person feels like they have to do something from a place of intimidation. Intimidation, inspiration, very different things. So we want to make sure that when we connect with people, that people are doing things from a place of inspiration and a place of information and not intimidation. That's very, very key. The fourth thing I want to talk about is that we got to be careful when we bring people in our lives. And I always say this saying to my clients: confidence can, weakness won't. I'm going to say it again. Confidence can, weakness won't. What does that mean? If you are a strong person, you need to be in relationship with other strong people. If you are a strong person, you cannot be in a relationship where people don't love themselves, they don't respect themselves, they have no self-awareness, because as a result, those people will show up with holes in their hearts that they expect you to fill. And then as a result, the relationship would be draining. The relationship would be depleted because people who are weak expect you to fill the voids in their life. So it's really important to not be in relationships with people who are fragile. Because people, when they are weak, they are emotionally needy and emotionally greedy. And as a result, they will drain the life out of you. It's always important to make sure that the people you have close in your life show up full and not as a fraction. If they are showing up as a fraction, they can't be in total, full relationship with you. It's so very important to make sure, hey, Mary and Janice, that people show up full and able and willing to show up in their relationship. Now, if a person shows up weak, because we all have broken areas, it's one thing to be committed to healing, but there's another thing to be committed to pain. And some people are more committed to their pain. They're more committed to self-ignorance than they are to self-illumination. And so at some point, if a person is not going to do what they need to do and heal themselves, they cannot be in relationship with you. It will drain you. It will bankrupt you. And then the person will be an emotional leech. Now, I know that sounds kind of harsh coming from a minister, but the thing is, we got to make sure that people don't become our detriment. So that's the fourth thing I would say. The fifth thing I want to say is that if people come into your life, it is critical that they understand their purpose. They are working toward understanding their purpose. Now, the reason why that's important. Many times, if people don't know their purpose, they don't have a goal, they don't have an aspiration, they don't have a vision for their lives. And when people don't have a purpose, they lose their way. So just think, they have no purpose, they lose their why, they don't know their why, they lose their way. Now here's the challenge. When people lose their way, they get in your way and they become a distraction. Everybody in your life should at least understand that they have a divine calling, that they have a divine agenda. If not, that person will become a distraction in your life. Always remember, when people are doing nothing, they want people to do nothing with them. And if you have a goal, if you have a divine agenda, just know if a person does not know their calling, if they don't have a divine why, they will lose their way and they will get in your way. And as a result, they will become a hindrance and they will become a person that, a detour, so to speak, versus a person who is going to be a person who can support you. Very, very important. And then the fifth thing before I leave is that if you're going to be in a relationship, it is important to make sure the person has the power for the position. Sometimes we bring people in our lives, they don't have the power for the position. Bruce, thanks for sharing. What does that mean? People who come into your life should be emotionally mature, spiritually equipped, mentally acute, and they should have some intellectual horsepower. Why? If they don't have that, how are you even equally yoked? It is so important that a person comes in your life as to be a helpmate. And if they don't have the emotional maturity, they can't handle conflict. If they don't have the spiritual maturity, they don't know how to pray. If they don't have the intellectual horsepower, they have no wisdom. So it's really important that we make sure that we surround ourselves with people who are equipped. A person who's next to you should be a powerful person because you are a powerful person. And if we're going to be powerful, we need to surround ourselves with people who are as equally as powerful, because it's a difference between being close and having access. There are a lot of people who might be close to you, but everybody cannot have access to you because some people don't know what it means to have a spirit of confidentiality. They can't tell everything they know. So that's why we have to be very close. We have to be very, very wise about who we allow in our lives. So I think there are 15 things, but I'm just going to stop here. I want to review those things. First thing, one relationship does not fit all. That means that our relationships, every relationship has to be negotiated. Relationships are never mandated. They are negotiated. So if you're not getting your needs met, it's important to have a conversation with the person instead of assassinating their character and saying negative things about them. I'm going to give you an example. Many times I have people say to me, "Oh, SharRon, you're not a good friend because you don't go out on Saturday." I say, listen, you don't come to church on Sunday, so how am I not a good friend? So it's really important to have courageous conversations and challenge every lie with the truth. So remember, one size doesn't fit all. And if your relationship, the framework of your relationship is so tight, you're going to be in a relationship by yourself. The relationship has to be flexible enough to accommodate people's lives, to accommodate seasons, to accommodate their personalities, their needs. You have to flex. And if you have a paradigm or a pattern that you try to force everybody into, you're going to miss good people from coming into your life. The second thing, connection always requires contribution. Don't show up to a relationship empty-handed, empty-headed, or empty-handed. It's always important to know that you have to give to gain. If you don't have anything to share, stay by yourself, because people need to be able to get value from you, and you also get value from them. The third thing, again, relationships should be playgrounds, not prisons. You don't get to tell your friends what to do. They don't have to share everything with you. You cannot manipulate someone or intimidate someone to get your needs met. Just have a conversation. Tell people what you need. Because as a result, if we try to keep people in prisons, in bondage, in ways that make them play small, they're not going to be in a relationship with you. I want to say this, especially as a Black woman, we already have a lot of institutionalized ways that we are bonded. Racism, sexism, classism, ageism, nationalism, favoritism. There are so many isms that already suffocate us. We cannot be in a relationship where we also feel suffocated that we can bring our entire selves. If the relationship is too small, don't ask a big person to come into it. Because if you have a big personality, big goals, you're going to have to flex to allow room for a person to coexist. And then always remember, confidence can, weakness won't. And if a person is weak and they're fragile and they are standing in their weakness and they're not committed to their own growth, they cannot add value to themselves, which means that they cannot add value to you. Always remember, if a person is committed to their hurt more than they're committed to their healing, they can never serve a purpose in your life. And again, make sure everybody knows their purpose. They don't know their why, they're going to lose their way, and then they're going to get in your way. And then they're going to be all up in your Kool-Aid without even knowing the flavor. We got to make sure that people support us, but also that they stay in a space that they can self-actualize, and you can too. And the last thing is to always remember that being your friend is a powerful position. Being in your inner circle, it is a gift. And that means that it is a gift, people have to show up. They have to know what confidentiality means. It knows that they have to know what respect means. They have to know that the information that you share you should not be able to hear it back in the community. So those are 6 things. There are 15 things. I just wanted to share 6 today. Because as sisters, we need each other. We are hardwired for connection. I need you, you need me. But if we put bondage and if we put our sisters in cages, that there's no room for them to be who they are and to show up strong, what happens is you minimize or limit the people who are in your life. We always want to make sure that our relationships are flexible enough to accommodate different views, different perspectives, different careers, different income brackets. If you want to have a very myopic, truncated framework, just know you're going to have truncated, myopic relationships. I have one of my person who used to be my friend. I knew that she had a very small way of living in the world. She used to always say, "Oh, SharRon, I'm going to have a business that'll go across the globe." I said, "You're lying. You won't even walk across the street." So I'm really careful, and I want to encourage you to be careful, to have high expectations for yourself, but also have high expectations for people coming in your life, because you are amazing, and you need to make sure you surround yourself with other amazing people, because you deserve the best. So those are 6 things. I will come back next week to share more. Thank you for everybody who shared. I still have to get used to this Facebook Live. It's my 3rd time, but I wanted to share what's on my heart. I just finished an interview and they were talking about the reasons why sisters don't connect or collaborate or communicate. I believe that one of the challenges is that we overestimate our ability to relate to each other. We overestimate our abilities to handle communication and conflict. And I'll deal with that next week in the next Facebook Live. So thanks everybody who was there. I really appreciate it, RC, Catherine, Lisa, and I hope this information was helpful, and I look forward to sharing more later. So blessings to you always. Go get you some good friends, and also make sure you show up as a friend so that people can really not only feel loved and celebrated by you, but also that you can celebrate and love other people. Blessings to you always. God bless.